Yeah.
That's the light one. This way, only this one gets dirty.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
So you've got a house one and a walkabout one?
exactly. So on the carpeting, it's kind of nice, and that one's a really lightweight
Yeah.
chair, and that way she can scoot around real easy. Okay, so this is what we try to do unless we're going somewhere.
So does it take two people to do it, or can one person?
It's just
One.
person.
One. You're just sort of standing there.
Yeah. All right, brakes off. Okay, I think the light off.
We're taking the elevator, huh?
Yeah.
So tell us what we're doing this morning.
This morning we're going to chair yoga. It's over at Clubhouse One, and in between the emeritus season, from the fall season to the winter season, the Laguna Woods tries to accommodate with some exercise classes like chair yoga. So next week, Emeritus Institute starts the spring season, and so chair yoga was offered by the physical therapy group over in Gym 1 so that people have something to do in a couple of weeks during the holiday.
And we're gonna take the bus.
Yeah, we're gonna take the bus.
You like taking the bus, Alice?
I guess so.
It's a bus, huh?
Right.
I chose a garden villa when we came in here because originally when we came in, we were just at cane and walker status. And so in the back of my mind, having dealt with mobility impairment before, I thought, what if this condition gets worse? So these units were perfect, especially the first floor, because there's a way in and out of it, even if the elevator's down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that was a little bit of planning going on there for those that are involved in managing. All of the bus stops that we have through Laguna Woods,
Yeah.
every single time you see like a bench, that means it's a bus stop.
Okay.
Okay?
But they'll pick you up anywhere, though, right? You just stand there and they'll
Yeah,
come by.
I
and
don't
pick
know.
you
I haven't challenged them that way. But we do know that, we usually know the time.
Uh-huh.
And, I think they run like on a half an hour or the hour. And buses are just like one form of transportation in Laguna Woods, but a real significant form of transportation.
Right.
Okay? There's other transportation offered through OCTA.
Right.
There's vouchers through the village for like $4 or $5. I mean, there's caregivers that have cars. There's neighbors. I mean, contained within this community, there's really no reason to say that you're not going somewhere because you can't get there. I mean, I can understand at night, people don't want to necessarily go out, but during the day, and even with our taxi cab services here, many of them will take you out of the cab and walk you to the door.
Wow.
Even some of the bus drivers have actually, I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but our bus drivers have been great. If the bus hasn't been loaded with people, and I haven't been home, they've gotten off the bus and brought Alice to the elevator because the door is a little bit hard to open, and then from the elevator up to the first floor, she's home free. Not all buses have the disability ramp, not every single one of them.
Oh.
So, in this case, for cul-de-sac 219 this morning, we could pretty much be guaranteed one that's going to have the lift.
I thought they all would have had it.
No, I think there's some that don't, because when you originally started taking them, there were a few that we had a call on. And then there's, as I mentioned, OCTA. I know I'm babbling on this, but this is really kind of important. When you go outside of the gates, you call that other service, the other bus service.
Yeah.
I mean, we're layered
But
with services here.
That depends. They don't come at the time you ask for.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, think about it this way, Aunt. If you were to look at the day today, what is today? January 14th? January 14th is 5 degrees in Chicago. All right?
Yeah, can you imagine trying to get around
Yeah,
in the
we've done it.
wintertime?
Okay.
Ugh.
So, whatever we complain about here, we're looking at 60, 65, 70 degrees.
Yeah, they're playing golf right now, right
Yeah.
there, right?
Okay? We're taking our pick between whether we want to go have breakfast at 19 or go to chair yoga, or gee gosh, next week it's mobility swim. And right now in Hickory Hills or Palos Hills in Chicago, it'd be 5 degrees. I'd be struggling with if I could find a caregiver that would dare go down the driveway if the driveway didn't have snow on it. I mean, we wouldn't be getting out of the house.
No.
Okay? You have to remind yourself of that no matter what goes on every day here.
Now, being housebound for a couple months and not being able to exercise and get out there, that could be quite, harmful at some level because you're
instead of getting stronger or maintaining your, what are you doing in the wintertime in Chicago?
Yeah, any management, I mean, whether it's a mobility restriction or not, pretty much, I mean, just even people like myself, come October, you don't feel like working out anymore, right? All right, so it's October, November, December, January, you're kind of on lockdown. And even if you do motivate yourself, you're going to use weather as an excuse. We don't have that excuse here, okay? I mean, you couldn't make it much easier. It's like, if you don't have weather to use and you can't use, oh, well, there's traffic. Traffic where? You know, to go across the street or to just throw some running shoes on and go through this community. We don't have an official running path here, but I use the circle in 5 and 6. That's usually my running routine. So I've made my own path. Class starts at 11 o'clock. It goes for an hour. You're going to be shocked how many people are there. It's really amazing. So when people say, where are these people taking these classes? There's got to be at least 50 people in that class. And they're not all, you know, I mean, there's some people that just, you know, they may not have walkers or canes or wheelchairs. They just want to take something that's a little bit slower. Yoga isn't for them. Not everybody can.
It's not yoga.
Well, it's
Chair balance.
Yeah, but it's a form of chair yoga because you're working on balance in yoga.
Taught by our own instructors that we pay for, right?
Yeah, this class is taught by Peter, who works in the gym in Clubhouse 1. So, yeah, we pay for them. You're also paying for the class, too. There's a small contribution to the
Okay.
class, but it's like $5.
It's not very much.
No, it's a joke.
And he's marvelous. Peter
there.
is just great.
She's gonna transfer to the kid? Okay, give me a second. No, yes, but this.
Is this the normal kind of procedure? They got to kind of strap her down?
Yeah, yeah, it's a safety thing. So,
Okay.
Yeah, but she couldn't concentrate. She couldn't get a wheelchair. No, they do not. And so that's the big thing I worry.
that's if she's sitting in it. If she gets up, then it's a little bit different.
Flow easier, huh?
Yeah, usually we
Come along.
Right.
put everything.
Today we'll just do this.
They're in the booklet. And everything else is worked out. So,
All right.
that's neat. You get to hold it. Of course, I'd still be shaking.
It is kind of fun.
Yeah, it kind of is. I mean, it's completely self-contained, you know? We have our own transportation system. You're very lucky. Yes.
Yeah. It's if you don't use it, you don't really realize how important it is. Yeah, you just see them driving around. If you need them,
I think that it was amazing meeting the woman that just moved in across the hall from me and looking at her age and hearing her story about how her friends live here. They're all couples, and she's not. And they were concerned about her. And she just got diagnosed with Parkinson's. And they said, hey, what are you doing to plan for your future? And she can't drive. In 2 or 3 years, she might be able to drive because the smart car is coming out. Okay, but as of for right now, she can't. So she said to me clearly, I came here for this transportation primarily. I want to be able to get around.
yeah.
And even if she wants to do stuff outside of this community, if you just link up to the Saddleback area, you're hooked into that whole transportation system. That could take you to LA,
Right, right.
you know. So if you don't want to take a cab, I mean, this is as door-to-door as it gets. When you pull up at Clubhouse 1, it's very busy. They're all lining up at noon hour when we go to leave. You see it's just one after another. It's sort of impressive how much activity we have coming from different gates, taking people shopping, taking them to Home Depot, to CVS. They don't cross the 5. Everything's pretty much on this side of the 5. Florence Silvestri Center. So if you take a bus to Florence Silvestri Center, what are you linked up with? You're linked up with the DMV, all the restaurants, Polly's. You know, just getting to that intersection opens up the door for all of that activity on that end.
Hello. Hello. Oh, yes. Yes, and I guess I missed registration, is that right? No. Okay.
It's like New York City and California, huh?
I know.
Oh, awesome. And
How old is Alice?
Alice, do you want to admit your age?
How old are you? You mind telling us how old you are?
I have
Oh, awesome. So, 2 students.
85.
You're
9:52.
Sagittarius.
Thank
She
you
just
so much. I
turned
was really
85.
running into a big deal.
The supportive staff that is within Laguna Woods, I don't know who's hiring them, but they're picking people that are just so energized and just exude positive feelings. Ron, is it Ron or Ron? The gentleman that teaches the swim, who I've spoken about, he's tried to quit numerous times. He's always telling jokes. He's always got a smile pasted on his face. Peter, who my aunt was referring to, that teaches this class, just real upbeat. I just can't believe what we get for a few bucks.
Right.
You know, when I look at what the bill is for physical therapy, you know, through Medicare, whether you're paying it privately or not, physical therapy is a couple $100 an hour.
Really?
And you're not always getting a person, at least in Chicago, like if you go to Chicago rehab, it's very expensive. You're not always getting a person who's in the mood.
Right.
You know? And these people are so used to dealing with all the various personalities that we have in Laguna Woods.
A good life and you've got a good outlook.
It's just this incredible gift in addition to all of the amenities. The people that are supporting these programs in here are fantastic.
Last time through. Relax your arms down by the side. Last time through. Rotation, look over your shoulder. Pause in the middle. Opposite direction.
How much money does this save the government that these people don't have to go out and have Medicare pay for this? How much, have you figured that out?
No, I really haven't figured that out exactly, but just thinking about it, I mean, this class right here, balance, right? That's physical therapy right there, and occupational therapy. That's both of those. Because occupational therapy is usually, you know, when you're learning how to utilize your activities of daily living, your transferring, your sitting, your movement, and your ins, your outs, your ups, your downs. They're covering a lot of that movement right in this class. Physical therapy is somewhat close to that, you know, moving the fingers, the legs. Somebody preventing injury and by maintaining and keeping themselves going every other day like this is saying, hey, you know, I'm staying out of trouble. And the longer we stay out of trouble, the less impact we are to our hospitals, to getting injured in the home. If you were to just think about the cost of an ambulance, for instance, okay, when everybody's like, call 911 for everything. Well, it's not just as simple as calling 911. An ambulance comes, a full ENT staff, If you haven't been moving in weeks, let's say that you've just been sitting around, and then you're at much greater fall risk, so you get rushed to a hospital. When you go to the emergency room, you don't get out of that emergency room without a cardio clearance, a neurology clearance. You know, there's several clearances, and then you might be staying overnight. I mean, I've looked at that and looked at some of my aunt's prior bills, and because we're never going to keep totally out of trouble, you're looking at $5,000 to $9,000 just for a round in the hospital to hit an emergency room. So we try to do everything we can, and I'm looking at a room full of people that are like and saying, hey, I'm going to keep my knees moving. That helps with going to the toilet, going in the kitchen, you know, I'm going to keep my legs and arms moving around. I suppose we could figure it out, you know, but I'd have to say thousands of dollars in prevention. What do you see on every page in the Globe? Somebody advertising to this particular audience. There's what, 18,000 people living in Laguna Woods, and yet the majority of the advertising is directed at this audience. Walkers, wheelchairs, therapy, doctors, surgery, you know, have you had a stroke? I mean, you know, I don't need to convince you, we just go through page by page. So if that's what's directly advertising to our community, that must mean that our community is spending a lot of dollars in that direction. Yeah, it's one way of looking at it.
She's been doing this for 5 weeks now?
Yeah, she's been doing this the entire holiday season.
And have you noticed any benefits in her life, the quality of her life, because she's doing chair yoga versus the water aerobics or water classes? Any benefits?
One over the other?
Yeah,
Well,
just wondered.
both are fantastic. I mean, they really are. A better question would be this: do I notice the immediate difference when there's nothing going on in her life? Oh, huge. As I mentioned to you before, we do have, you know, illness exists no matter whether you're moving around or not. So about 1.5 years ago, Ellis had an appendix issue, right? An appendix means you're going to go to the hospital, and then you're going to have some time in skilled nursing. Skilled nursing means you're either going to prepare to intermediate care facilities. You're ideally preparing that individual to come home again, but sometimes they don't come home, all right? So when I look at where she's at and why we usually try to get her out of an intermediate care facility as fast as possible is because she declines terribly. She starts to get infections. I'm not knocking all intermediate care facilities, but you know, when your body's not moving, you're not fighting off things as quickly as possible. We do a much better job in Laguna Woods recovering than we do in intermediate care facilities, and intermediate care facilities run $9,000 to $16,000 a month, and that is paid for by insurance, and if it's not covered by insurance, it's covered by our taxpayers.